Here's a Star Trek fact that might surprise you. Voyager's Tom Paris was almost someone else. When Voyager was being cast, the idea was to bring in the character Nick Locarno from The Next Generation, the rebellious cat from the First Duty episode. The same actor, Robert Duncan McNeill, even played Locarno first. Many fans have theorised wildly about the reasons, one of the most popular being that the First Duty writer would need to be paid every time Locarno was used. But the real reason is that the producers ultimately decided Locarno was too dark and irredeemable to be part of the new crew. Instead, they resurrected the actor in a new role, Tom Paris, a flawed pilot seeking redemption. Stick around, because the story of how a near-recycled character became Voyager's resident rogue is one you won't want to miss. Tom Paris aboard Voyager seems like he was born to be a starship pilot. But if things had gone differently, we'd know him as Lieutenant Nick Locarno instead. In The Next Generation's Season 5 episode The First Duty, Robert Duncan McNeill played Cadet Nick Locarno, a young Starfleet officer who's covered up a fatal accident. Locarno's downfall led him to leaving Starfleet, and when Voyager was in development, the team liked McNeill's performance and initially planned to use Locarno on Voyager. However, interviews with the producers reveal a twist. They felt Locarno was too dark and damaged for a hero's journey. Producer Jerry Taylor explained that they liked the idea of a character like Tom Paris ever since they'd done First Duty and had Locarno. They didn't make Locarno the con officer because he was somewhat darker and more damaged. They felt Locarno couldn't be redeemed and they wanted a journey of redemption. So they scrapped the idea of Locarno joining Starfleet, and instead the producers created a new character, Tom Paris. In other words, the same actor came aboard Voyager as a new man. Paris was given a fresh backstory, albeit a similar one, a prison record and disgrace to overcome, while still echoing the bad boy vibe of Locarno. Fans noticed the resemblance immediately, but the creative team insisted it was a different person. McNeill himself pointed out that underneath the troubled ex-con pilot was a fundamentally good guy, the opposite of Locarno's character. We'll explore how and why Star Trek took this character from one series and remade him for another, from Locarno's mistake at Starfleet Academy to Paris's flight test failure. Their stories have parallels. By the end, you'll see that Tom Paris might have had a different name, but his root in TNG's Nick Locarno are part of Voyager lore. Get ready for a classic example of Hollywood recycling and why it turned out even better as Paris's own tale. Let's dig into the details. Nick Locarno was a next-generation character in The First Duty. He'd led an unauthorized flight that accidentally killed a fellow cadet. Locarno tried to cover it up by lying in the Academy debriefing, but Captain Picard exposed him. Locarno was expelled, his Starfleet career in ruins, and he was too arrogant and unrepentant to stay in Starfleet. This story made Locarno seem irredeemable to the Voyager producers, yet they loved McNeill's portrayal and wanted a fallen Starfleet officer for Voyager. In early drafts, Tom Paris was going to literally be Locarno aboard Voyager, but Jerry Taylor said they opted to create Paris as a new character. In interviews, she admitted Locarno was somewhat darker and more damaged. He couldn't be redeemed. So the writers reinvented him as Tom Paris. Still an ace pilot who makes mistakes, but fundamentally good. Locarno seemed like a nice guy, but deep down he was a bad guy. Tom Paris is an opposite premise in a way. Deep down he's a good guy, he's just made some mistakes. At least that's according to actor Robert Duncan McNeill. In practice, this meant rewriting Locarno's backstory. Paris's version of disgrace was a drunken flight test incident. He even had a stint in prison before getting the captain's pardon. It's interesting that some fans still believe Locarno and Paris are the same man undercover. The show itself has toyed with this. For example, a Voyager episode, Pathfinder, shows a young photo of Paris that looks exactly like Locarno, sparking fan theories. But official sources say they are distinct characters despite the casting overlap. The Voyager creative team used Locarno as a template, then changed enough details to distance the two. This illustrates how Star Trek handles continuity in character creation. By making Paris a new person, they avoided moral inconsistency. Viewers could root for Paris's redemption without forgiving Locarno's specific crimes. So when you watch Voyager, remember this. Tom Paris has an alternate identity lurking in the Star Trek archives. He's an evolution of Nick Locarno's concept, sanitized for television heroes. Producers and McNeil both emphasized Paris's nobility to ensure audiences could empathize with him, and that little bit of recycling gave Voyager a memorable character whilst neatly sidestepping a continuity problem. In the end, the only thing recycled was the actor. The character of Tom Paris is all his own thanks to a deliberate creative decision. Did learning Tom Paris's origin story surprise you? Give us a like if you enjoyed this Voyager tidbit. Share your thoughts in the comments. Did you always suspect Tom Paris had a TNG twin? We'd love to hear your theories. And make sure you subscribe for more fan favourite Trek trivia from Hailing Frequencies. Each weekly wave brings new behind-the-scenes stories and Easter eggs from across the Star Trek universe. Hit the notification bell and join our Star Trek community. There's always something new lurking in the Trek archives. Thanks for watching, fellow Trekkers. Warp back here next time for more fascinating Star Trek secrets. I'm Stu Jackson, and this has been your weekly wave of Trek trivia.
Independent Captain Nick Locarno here with a message for anyone who feels like an afterthought.
He looks like Tom Paris.
I don't see it.